What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fight Maniac podcast. Second upload of the week. Wow. This one will definitely be a bit of a shorter video. If you haven't checked out my main podcast this Monday, I uploaded a Tuesday morning, but it was pretty much breaking down UFC 309, and I give you my official picks. So if you haven't, go check that out. But today, I will be talking about a fight that's happening this Friday, which will be Mike Iron Tyson versus Jake Paul, the problem child. A fight that's obviously going to be taking place on Netflix. So for my understanding is if you have a Netflix account already that you pay for, you'll be able to watch the fight without having to buy anything extra. Hopefully that's the case. I would hate if like you already paid for Netflix and then you have to, on top of that, order something, because in that case, then what the fuck is the point? Just have it in another platform. But because it is on Netflix, I think it's projected. If even if a small percentage of Netflix's audience tunes in, I think they're going to have massive ratings. I think this is going to fight that's going to break records as far as ratings go. And I talked about this before in an episode a while ago, but I don't think the ratings are because of Jake Paul. All right, and this may sound weird, but if you look at Netflix's demographics and a lot of their audiences, they tend to be a little bit older, maybe some like baby boomers, and that aligns. Well, everybody watches Netflix. I mean, don't get me wrong. But as far as having Netflix in your living room playing, mainly I think it's parents and stuff like that, and slightly older people. Younger people, I guess, are more on YouTube and stuff like that. So because of that, they wanted someone like Mike Tyson on the card, to someone that demographic knows, right? And they're familiar with Mike Tyson, because you kind of saw it a little bit whenever Mike Tyson got injured. Jake Paul called for other opponents. One of them was his brother, and I forget who the other one was, but he basically called for other opponents, trying to save the event and the date and the Netflix marquee. But Netflix said no. Netflix said, no, we want Mike Tyson. And that tells me that, okay, Netflix wants this fight. Mainly, I don't know how to treat this fight. I mean, is it a real fight? I know that is shorter rounds. I know the rounds are, I think, a minute or 2 minutes. I don't know if I think it's 6 or 8 rounds. So it's tough looking at this fight and trying to judge it as a professional boxing fight. I mean, you have in one hand, you have a damn near 60-year-old, I think he's 58, in Mike Tyson, who, look, don't get me wrong, he was one of the baddest dudes on the planet, and he was the former heavyweight champion of the fucking world. Don't get it twisted, that's Mike Tyson. But he's 60. He's slow as fuck. He probably's got bad hips, bad knees. Even though he's pumped up with a bunch of shit. I know that he's done a bunch of stem cells and a bunch of other shit. I don't know exactly, but, to kind of stay healthy and still look impressive. Don't get me wrong. He still looks impressive when he's hitting mitts, but he looks impressive hitting mitts. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see how impressive you look when someone's punching at you, or you know what I mean? So, and then on the other hand, you got Jake Paul, who obviously has always been a guy that's very critiqued. I've talked about this before too, about how I'm kind of past the whole, oh, he's just a YouTuber. He's just a YouTuber. Like, I don't care about that. At this point, I see him now as a real fighter. Professional-ish boxer. I don't know if I would say that, but he definitely is a serious opponent when he faces anybody. He definitely has knockout power. And I think he's a guy that he has dedicated a fuck ton of money, a fuck ton of resources, and a fuck ton of time to this one craft for the past, 4 years, right? Or so, give or take. No matter what it is, you're going to be good at something when you have done that. If it's basketball, if it's chess, if it's whatever it is, swimming, if you put 4 years and then commitment and repetition, and then you fucking spend 5 days of the week doing that, you're going to be good at it. And if you're not, then you're probably in the wrong spot. But Jake Paul is a legit good boxer. He's got good power. He's got good movement. he still obviously has a long way to go. He obviously needs a lot of experience still, and I think he still needs to just kind of learn a little bit more of footwork and kind of defense and counter striking. But hey, he's good for where he's at, right? And I mean, look at his fights. You cannot deny that he has given us some pretty entertaining fights against some pretty entertaining opponents. But I think for him, it's always a matter of when is he, at least my question that I have, right, that I would love to get an answer to is, when is he going to actually go for ranked boxing opponents and eventually go to a title shot? Like, that's what I want to see, right? And that's what, as a true fan of the sport, not just a casual, I guess you could call me, that's what I want to see. I want to see him get a championship. That's what every other fighter, other than money, but that's what every other fighter does, right? When they get to the UFC, to boxing, they want the world champion, right? At first, they might do it for money, but at first they all walk into a gym for a specific thing, and that's that championship in their mind, right? The money comes later. But I think that's what I want to see from Jake Paul is fight some ranked boxing guys. And, he fought obviously Tommy Fury, but he was, whatever, professional boxer, real boxer, but he lost against him. And then he did have 2 or 3 fights that nobody even watched, that was against some guys that obviously nobody even know either. Sorry for that. That sounds fucked up, but hey, it wasn't Nate Diaz. It wasn't, Anderson Silva. It was guys that literally nobody's even heard of before. And they were also, I guess, professional boxers. But, I mean, if you go back and look at those fights, those guys look like they were delivery men and they just picked them up for a fight. So, he was just building up his record there, really. That's really all it was. But then you can't deny he's given us some pretty entertaining fights versus some pretty entertaining opponents. The Nate Diaz's, the Anderson Silva's. Like, there's been pretty good fights. But yeah, I think now it's time to kind of step it up and say, I'm going to be fighting the number 15 ranked guy in the world, and then eventually the 10th, and then so and so, right? And I think that's what he should do. And he doesn't have to also. He's rich as fuck. He literally does whatever the fuck he wants. And he makes millions of dollars fighting this quote-unquote easier fight. They're not easy, but they're definitely going to be easier than a ranked boxing opponent. So I think that he definitely, I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, right? And it's also so hard to judge this fight and to give you guys an official prediction for it. I'm sorry, I'm kind of just yapping, but I think that you have to look at this fight in the way that it might be kind of like a hard sparring kind of scenario, right? I don't think nobody's going to go for real damage. I don't think nobody's really going to get knocked out. I do have one prediction, though, that I do think Jake Paul will knock down Mike Tyson at least once. But that's it. I don't think Mike Tyson will get knocked out or at least, KO'd cold. Also don't think Jake Paul is going to get knocked out cold. Although I would say the guy with the better chance to get a KO is probably Mike Tyson, my opponent, in my opinion. I do think that even though his stamina might be a question here, I think he can, generate enough power for at least 2 or 3 power punches throughout the fight, and just really time him correctly and see what you can generate without gassing out. I think that's the main thing. Mike Tyson here, we don't want him to gas out. Listen, I mean, he looks good hitting mitts, you know what I mean? But I guess we'll find out how he looks in the fight. What you do have to wonder, though, is if this fight will be, I don't want to say rigged because that sounds too harsh, but we will find out if it was a similar situation to the Roy Jones Jr. fight. You have to wonder if they have some sort of agreement, behind locked doors that maybe they're not going to go for a knockout or they're not going to headhunt. That is going to be only body shots. We don't know if they have something going on like that. They could. I mean, and another thing I want to talk about is I don't know why Jake Paul took this fight. I mean, I get it why he took it. Is probably an ungodly amount of money and a fuck ton more of eyeballs. But if you win, let's say you knock out Mike Tyson, right? Like, are we supposed to cheer for that? Are we supposed to clap for you knocking out a 60-year-old guy. And let's say you lose against Mike Tyson. Now everybody's going to make fun of you for losing against Mike Tyson. But I get it. I mean, you got the bag, and respect. Literally, respect. That's going to be an insane bag, an insane exposure. And as long as Jake Paul keeps doing these type of fights, like, who the fuck is he going to fight next? Fucking Evander Holyfield? Like, as long as he has these types of fights that make no sense, you're still gonna have questions and people judging. And not that he cares. I get it, guys. And I'm not hating. I really am not. I really am not hating. But he's still not gonna be classified, at least in my book, as a professional boxer. He is a good boxer. He's a prize boxer, I guess you can call it. He's a prize fighter. But he's not considered a professional boxing. Now, I think what he's mainly looking for is not an easy way out, but he just wants the one fight, right? He doesn't want to go through the ranks of fighting guy number 15, guy number 10, right? He doesn't want to go through that. He wants to get big enough and massive enough to where eventually one day a Canelo that's in the brink of retirement will fight him. And that's when Jake Paul will call himself finally a professional boxer. I think that's what he's hoping for. That's what he's aiming for. Yeah, I really hope Canelo doesn't just give him an easy way out like that. You know, I really hope that Jake Paul kind of goes through the proper way, the proper channels, and builds his resume with real professional ranked boxers. You know, I mean, if you kind of notice, a lot, if not almost all, of his opponents have been either retired or, you know, just no longer fighting or older than, 40. So, I mean, it's just kind of, it hasn't been really, it's been entertaining to watch, and it's been like, okay, I get it, but you're kind of doing the same thing over and over. And I just wish that he would take a more serious approach. Because, yeah, I mean, you can see that, I mean, all he really cares about is the money. And, I mean, even, like, fighting someone like KSI, bro, like, it literally, even, I kind of saw a funny clip of it. I don't really watch Mr. Beast like that, but I saw a funny clip of him that is like, why don't you guys just fight? Like, just figure it out. Like, just fight. And I 100% agree. Like, he was arguing with KSI, fighting and not fighting and going back and forth. They're arguing over, like, 5 pounds. Like, bro, figure it the fuck out. Book the fight. Your 5 pounds is literally nothing. Tell that to your UFC fighter. They'll cut that in 2 hours, bro. Like, that is literally nothing. And you're over here crying about it and not fighting a dude your age because 5 pounds. Like, it is what it is. I just wish that, and to be fair, Jake Paul did put on a lot of weight as well. For the Mike Tyson fight, but I mean, he could totally, be in camp for 6 months and just have a leaner diet, and you can probably cut a lot of weight, But I mean, that's another question too about the fight, is if Jake Paul is going to still have some of his speed and some of his stamina now that he's a little bit heavier and heftier. So I guess we'll see. I do plan, or not plan, but I do kind of see he could probably gas out at some point if he goes crazy and starts headhunting and just swinging and missing. Definitely he could gas out, and he will gas out. And who knows, maybe Mike Tyson will have an opportunity there. Quick little 2-piece of the soda there. I don't know. I'm not expecting much for this fight. I really am not. I'm just kind of expecting a hard sparring session. That's really all I could say about that. So I guess my official prediction will be Jake Paul by decision. Yeah, I think that's it. I think he just wins by decision. I think he does, however, knock down Mike Tyson at least once, and that's that. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me on this one, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next one. I'll talk about it as well after the fight. I'll break it down, and yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.